for a wonderful book release function. The ninth book of Dr. Anil Khandelwal, titled The Gym of Leadership. We're very fortunate to have a lot of stalwarts from the management and the HR world and the academia here. So I'm sure it'll be a wonderful evening listening to these stalwarts. And we have with us, besides the author and today's hero, Dr. Khandelwal, we have Dr. T.V. Rao as our guest, as well as Dr. Anup Singh from Nirma University also, whom I'll briefly introduce all of this so that then our program can carry on seamlessly after the official release of the book. Many of you know the author, Dr. Anil Khandelwal, and many of the BOB people are here also. But nonetheless, I'll give you a very brief introduction about him. And as you know, he is a renowned leadership and a management expert, and who is credited with the transformation of the Bank of Baroda during his tenure as the chairman and managing director. And interestingly, he has been a man of HR throughout. But then he's one of those rare exceptions where he joined the mainstream and rose up to become the chairman and managing director, not only holding that position, but playing a very pivotal role in that role. And he is a recipient of various awards, but I will not list all of them. Very briefly, he got the prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award by the Asian Banker Singapore, and also the recipient of the Lifetime Achievement by the National HRD Network. By the way, he and Dr. T.V. Rao were the founders of National HRD Network. Both T.V. Rao as well as Dr. Khandelwal have very old association with AMA. They were faculty maybe 35, 40 years back, even when this building was not there. We were at Navarangpura. And even while we were in a small office in Bhadra, that time I remember that many of the evening seminars were hosted at Bank of Baroda Staff College, where Khandelwal Sahib was also a faculty. And Khandelwal Sahib is also recognized amongst the top 100 most powerful CEOs in India by the Economic Times for every consecutive year for his tenure as the Bank of Baroda chairman. And he was appointed to the Committee on HR in Public Sector Banks by the Government of India, which is popularly known as the Khandelwal Committee. And as I mentioned, he has it's a passion for writing, and this is his ninth book. He has written 8 books, some of them co-authored, and the popular ones include The Day to Lead, then another one, CEO, Chess Master or Gardener. So he puts very appropriate titles, like that one was Chess Master and Gardener, and today it is the gym leadership, the gym, so the gym of leadership. So this is the kind of books he has written. So without wasting any time, I'll welcome Dr. Khandelwal with a book and a flower, please. Most of you know Dr. T.V. Rao here. He's been coming to AMA, and he's considered one of the fathers of HR in India. I remember when I was a management student in the early 80s, the term HR was fairly new. It was known as personnel management. Even the books were of personnel management, So he's the stalwart. He's the chairman of T.V. Rao Learning Systems, and with over 55 years of extensive work in the field of HR, Dr. T.V. Rao is one of the, as I said, fathers of HR in India, along with Dr. Uday Parikh. And he introduced the concept of human resource development in India, starting the first HRD in Larsen and Toubro. He served as a professor in IIM Ahmedabad from 1973 to 94, and then he has been an adjunct professor. He has authored and co-authored, edited over 60 books dealing with organizational behavior, education management, health and population management, entrepreneurship development. And over the years, Dr. T.V. Rao has been a keen resource person and an advisor for AMA, for HR. He has organized many of our HR conferences, and today also he is part of our executive committee. Welcome, sir. We have with us Dr. Anup Singh, who is a distinguished academic and a leader who has strengthened the Nirma University since becoming the head in 2013. He has earned his PhD from the University of Allahabad and completed his postdoctoral fellowship at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. Currently, he is a member of the Association of Indian Universities Governing Council. He has served as a visiting scholar with Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Business and has held prestigious roles, including Professor of OB at MDI near Gurugram, Dean at IMI New Delhi, and Director of Jaipuria Institute of Management, Noida. Earlier, he was the director of the Institute of Management, Nirma University. Dr. Singh has authored numerous books, research papers, case studies, and chapters. He has presented his work both at national and international platforms, and is also a recipient of multiple awards. Welcome, Dr. Singh. We do the release now? Yeah. So I think first we'll officially release the book in Ahmedabad. This was released in Delhi on 8th October, and the Honorable Minister Piyush Goyal was there along with other dignitaries. Can you just bring the books on the stage? And yeah, yeah, yeah. We are honored to have Mr. Suresh Bhai Patel, the ex-CVC of India, and also Dr. Shresh Dabral. May I request Mr. Dabral and Suresh Bhai to come on the stage for the release, please? Sorry. I'll request the author, Dr. Anil Khandelwal, to talk about the book briefly, and then we'll ask the other dignitaries to address. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Radia, for these preliminaries and our introductions. Dr. T.V. Rao, today's chief guest of the function, our friend, philosopher and guide, and an icon in human resource development area, Dr. Singh, Director General, and a long-time friend, if I can claim. I take special pleasure in acknowledging the presence of Dr. Pradeep Khandwala, a teacher of teachers, my icon, my mentor, and I must admit that he was on the board of bank, and though I get the credit for transforming, but there were persons like him on the board that the bank was taken ahead. I want to acknowledge. I have a distinguished colleague. I was in Dena Bank for 1 year, short time, and I have a very, very distinguished colleague in Mr. Suresh Patel. Suresh Patel not only became chairman of Andhra Bank, but eventually became to head constitutional position as Chief Vigilance Commissioner of India. We are very proud, Suresh, for you. And I still remember my brief visit to Rajkot. And Hindi में कहते हैं पूत के पैर पालने में दिख जाते हैं. And I always knew that you would be somebody someday. So we are very proud that you are here. So ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I want to thank AMA for organizing this function. I was telling a friend a couple of days back that although I was a faculty in Bank of Baroda Staff College, but that was a very limited thing. My real growth took place in AMA when they started inviting me I was addressing industry and other thing. I got, yes, I can. And I think this feeling of yes, I can was given by AMA long back in early 80s. So I acknowledge AMA's contribution in my growth and development. Now coming to book, The Gym of Leadership. The book is, most people ask why it is called Gym of Leadership. First of all, there have been, if you search net, millions of articles, books on leadership. So why another book on leadership? This is the question I was asking myself for 10 years. I wanted to write a book on leadership, but I always asking why another book on leadership. In the process, I wrote 3 more books, but it turn never came till last year when some puzzle was resolved in my mind. And I realized that leadership, people talk, they give sermons and they say, you should do that, you should do that, and in order to become leader. And one unfortunate part was that I saw in my career that the moment people are catapulted to higher position, people say they have become leaders. Actually, I found that most people are in higher position where they should not have been on a leadership scale. And therefore, I concluded 3 things about leadership. That this is hierarchy neutral. It has nothing to do with position. A man 5 levels below can have leadership qualities, and a man 5 levels above may not demonstrate leadership quality. I have seen it in my life. Second, it is gender neutral. Women today are as great a leader as men. And third is it is sector neutral. You require same kind of leadership qualities in running army or running a school or running even a mafia organization, if I can say so. You need to motivate people to indulge in those activities. So the point is that there have been lot of myths about leadership going on, lot of myths. So I wanted to demolish some of those myths that everyone can be a leader. Second, that it's a very elusive concept. So what is the leadership all about? People say it's inspiration, it is this, it is that. But let me share with you, leadership is a skill which requires as much disciplined practice as learning harmonium or learning guitar or learning any other skill. So 3 4 years back I started going to a gym for health, and suddenly something occurred in my mind that why do I come to gym? To maintain my health, physique. I get up early for coming to gym. There is a certain discipline, there is a certain passion. And at that time, the idea came that leadership is like going to gym, which require passion, hard work, disciplined practice, and continuous reflection as to who am I? What is it that I need to become? Why is it that I am on this earth? So it is not as simple a concept as people say, because first we must understand that when we reach at higher level, it is only an opportunity to play leadership role. But are we ready for that? By becoming or reaching a position, you don't become leader. You become leaders for media, where CNBC will give you a leadership award because you have achieved this metrics. How you have done, nobody knows. So anyway, so that was one reason I wrote the book. Second, most important, there is an Irish proverb that you have to do your own growing. Whatever be your grandfather, you have to do your own growing. For example, you can't outsource your health to doctor. You can't expect doctor to do morning walk on your behalf in order that your health is improved. You have to do your own morning walk. Leadership is something like that. And lastly, my own journey of leadership. What is it that I reached to the position I reached? What is it? When I look back, coming from middle or middle class background, learning English at the age of 10 in 6th class, and not studying in any of the IIMs, although Professor Khandelwal was very kind to offer me a faculty position in IIM in 1993. Uh, uh, those things apart, the journey is that leadership begins with some small convictions in life. What is it that you care most? What is it that you care most? Or you are swayed by the currents of circumstances, or you are swayed or carried away that this is the way world runs. What are you up to? What are those convictions? And you may not be able to fulfill those things in your career. For example, I believed very strongly about few things. It took me 30 years to wait for my turn to come and fulfill those convictions, but convictions remained. They were not diluted. And in small measures, I experimented, sometimes with success, sometimes with pain, sometimes with humiliation, sometimes whatever. But your capacity to stand by your convictions in some small measures. Leadership is also not an extreme phenomenon. When you read, you say you should have high this, you should have high that, you should have high that. I think context is very important. In whatever context you operate, that is most important. Leadership is not an extremist position. It's also collaboration, compromise. It is also going with the wind sometimes. It is also rocking the boat sometimes. I think it's very important to understand that anything related with human behavior is very delicate. It is like walking on a thin fire. But I think three, four things that I learned in my life was I learned leadership by observation. I learned both from good leaders, not so good leaders, and terrible leaders. Terrible leaders taught me more because it directly impacted. It impacts you when you decide, I would be anybody but not like this person. So you learn from everyone. You learn from bad leaders, you learn from good leaders. You must have power to observe. So this is what this book is all about. And second, I learned most is from daily reflection. Daily reflection. During the day, we do number of things. We lose temper, we misbehave. But if you continuously, it's like practicing on harmonium. You miss, sometimes the rhythm, but you again come back. Leadership is something like that. So in short, without taking much of the time of this is not a class to teach leadership. Some of these things conspired in my mind to create this book. This book, I believe, will be useful as much for an 80-year-old man as for a 15-year-old person. So, especially for the new millennial, because you still have a long time to go. And lastly, let me tell you, you don't have to go to Harvard to learn leadership. I can assure you. You can reinforce by going, but basic learning has to take place at your level with your effort, right? So that is this book all about. I hope it excites you. You read it, learn from it, challenge some of the things that I have written, and get back to me. Hopefully, in the next uh, edition, I would like to improve and learn from it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I thank everyone who has come and taken pains because I know that despite best intentions, sometimes last minute something happens that we say, I don't think weather is good that I should go, or the traffic is bad. So, despite all those odds, if you have come, you are really a leadership potential. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Khandelwal, for giving a bird's eye view of your book and talking about the key essentials of this, and especially about the title and other things. I'll request Dr. Anup Singh uh, uh, to talk about uh, and share his thoughts for this evening, please.
Mr. Radia, Professor Rao, Mr. Khandelwal, distinguished people and students. Today is a very important day, at least for me, because when you have best brains of management at the best management association reviewing the best book on leadership, it is definitely a very rare moment, right? We have Professor Rao, we have Professor Khandwala, and they have contributed so much on leadership. And generally, when you read about leadership, you have this question, I know about it, but what do I do? And that's where this book comes. Gym. So gym means what? It's exercise, it's riyaz, it's abhyas. And if you don't use it, you lose it. Leadership is about that. It's not a one-time affair. It is a daily affair. And when I was reading it, I felt like Buddha is telling Ap Deepa Bhava. You might be aware that when Buddha was going to take Nirvana, Anand asked him, how should I become Buddha? He said, I don't have any answer. Ap Deepa Bhava. Grow yourself. So the dilemma or the challenge of leadership is that you have to grow yourself. And leadership is an art. So, Pfeffer said, leadership BS, leadership bullshit, right? Because people started conceptualizing leadership as a science, while leadership was never a science. There may be certain principles, certain processes, but leadership is always an art. So this talks about, how to master that art. And if you look into the different chapters of the book, the first chapter is understanding the self, right? And Alabama Iqbal said, यूं ही ढूंढता फिरता हूं इकबाल अपने आप को और खुद ही मुसाफिर में खुद ही मंजिल में. So that is leadership, that you are your goal and you are also an explorer. And the book Alchemist talks about that the person starts a journey to seek something from outside, but then ultimately the goal is within, right? And this is why somebody said that मैं ही नहीं समर में हूं, एक समर मुझ में भी है, और मैं ही नहीं लहर में हूं, एक लहर मुझ में भी है. So this books talk about that, look, how to go inside, because that's where there is potential and that's where there are threats. And how to master your potential and how to, take care of your threats. Another very important thing in this section is how to reside, right? गिरते हैं सर सवार ही मैदान जंग में, गिरते हैं सर सवार ही मैदान जंग में, वो क्या आगे बढ़े जो घुटनों के बल चलते हैं. तो फेल तो होना ही है. अगर आप लीडर हैं तो आपको फेल होना ही है ना. अब सवाल इस चीज का है कि हाउ डू यू टेक फेलियर. फेलियर कैन बी लर्निंग, फेलियर कैन बी a boost. So it talks, different kind of resilience, 3 types of resilience, and we need to master all of them. Another section is emotional regulation, where he talks about anger, right? Somebody said, जरा सी बात पे हर रस्म तोड़ आया था, जरा सी बात पर हर रस्म तोड़ आया था, वल्लाह मैंने भी क्या मिजाज पाया था. So breaking relationship, shouting at people is easy, mastering anger is difficult, and leaders, when they have power, it becomes easier for them to become angry. See, there is a threat of power. Power does not always empower, power also weakens. Because then you have this false sense of invincibility. कि मुझे तो कुछ नहीं होगा. Right? And then you fail. And therefore, mastering of anger and temper is very important. And then it also talks about empathy and compassion. So I was in Bhutan for some time, and over there, when you see a Buddha, the right hand is behind or lower, and left hand is up. So right hand is power, and left hand is compassion. So compassion has to be over power. And when a leader understands that he's also there to take care of people, right? So he becomes a true leader. Then the next section is managing relationship, and that is crux of leadership, because leadership is not about self. Self is the source, but leadership takes place in relationships, right? And how to give new meaning to relationships. So I'm reminded of a scene from the film Gandhi, when Gandhi was in Bengal at the time of division of the country. Then a Hindu comes to him and tells him, you are talking about integration, you are talking about empathy. इन्होंने, मुसलमानों ने मेरे बेटे को मार दिया, तुम क्या कहते हो? And then Gandhi said, you sit. And then he called a boy. He said this, इसके बाप को दूसरे लोगों ने मार दिया, इसको बाप की जरूरत है, तुम्हें बेटी की जरूरत है, right? So relationship management is where we find solutions which are win-win solutions. It is about managing contradictions. It is managing paradoxes. And this section talks beautifully about those things, particularly, how to exercise sensitivity, right? The last section is the most important one. Talks about communications and conversation. हर एक बात पे कहते हो तुम कि तू क्या है, तुम ही कहो कि ये अंदाज़ गुफ्तगू क्या है, right? So when we talk, that's where we express ourselves. That's where we win people. That's where, we create problem for ourselves. And many times we don't want to talk, right? Because that's where our vulnerability would be touched. But there is no alternative to talking. So one is communication, another is conversation. So what is important about this section, that most of the books have talked about communication, but they have not talked about conversation, right? Conversation is more important. Listening is important, but conversation is more important. Dialogue is more important. Discussion is more important. And that is typical India, right? Because in India, we believe in dialogue. हम उसको बोलते हैं प्रेशर नहीं बोलते हैं, हम बोलते हैं सम प्रेशर. हाँ, दोनों तरफ से जो है बातचीत हो. So that is the essence of that. And how to become accountable for your behavior, that is very important. Shakespeare said, uneasy lies the head which wears the crown. So leadership is not easy, right? If you are wearing the crown, you have to be accountable. So you have to take responsibility for your action, for your organizational actions, right? And you have to, walk very, very carefully. So let me tell you to end what I'm saying, that this book is a must read. I can tell you that I have read at least 300-400 books on leadership, right? I am a student of leadership, and so I had to read so many books, right? Right from transformational leadership to charismatic leadership to this leadership to that leadership. This is a book which touches you. It talks straight to you, and it gives you a tool, right? So my suggestion to at least young leaders is कि भाई पढ़ो और पढ़ के आगे बढ़ो और आगे बढ़ के दुनिया को बदलो, राइट? सिर्फ पढ़ने से कुछ नहीं होगा, राइट? पढ़ने के बाद बढ़ना भी है और बढ़ने के बाद बदलना भी है. सो थैंक यू, यू हैव मेड a great contribution, and I told him that you may inaugurate your book anywhere, but you are, an Ahmedabad boy, right? इसलिए यहाँ पे तो आपको बुक को रिलीज करना ही. Another thing is that I, take him as a Raj Rishi. हमारे यहाँ इंडिया में न राजा का प्रभाव है न ऋषि का प्रभाव है. ऋषि भी किनारे हो जाते हैं, राजा भी किनारे हो जाते हैं. But to be in the game, you have to be a Raj Rishi. So he is a Raj Rishi, right? So you have to be both a thought leader and a action leader. And lastly, all of us are going to go to another world one day, right? नहीं, आपने क्या छोड़ के गए, right? And have you given it to your family member, or have you given it to humanity? So what he has given is to humanity, and we are thankful for that, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Anup Singh. This because due to some logistical reasons, the publishers could not bring the book here because many people were inquiring. So I'll just clarify. It is available on Amazon, as I said, due to the, please, please, you can just switch there.
Some operational reasons, but it is a blessing in disguise because Amazon gives you a very heavy discount, and here those who put a stall, they don't give you any. So you can go to Amazon, and that's all.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. And now I request Dr. T.V. Rao to say something about the book as well as share his thoughts. Please, Dr. T.V. Rao. Yeah.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Khandelwal for giving me the privilege of reading the manuscript of his book. But more than that, I've had the privilege of knowing Anil since 1978. And we have very closely worked together in Bank of Baroda Staff College, set up the National HRD Network, Ahmedabad chapter, not only the National HRD Network, then the Academy of HRD, for which he was chairman, and of course participated in many events of the Ahmedabad Management Association. And it's a great privilege. I have been very meticulously following his work and always admired the wonderful work he had done wherever he was, either at the Staff College or in the personnel department of Bank of Baroda or with Dana Bank. I think he turned around in 1 year tenure. I think he did a marvelous kind of a job, or in various positions. And when he took over, I think every position, at some of the positions some of the roles he was given were given by the bank with vengeance to make sure that he will emerge as a failure, because somebody or the other had panga with him. But everything he converted as an opportunity and did a wonderful job. wonderful job. The most important time, I think he was put to test. In fact, in his book, he uses the term crucible experiences. And the most important crucible experience was being a person without having any direct banking. He was more of a HR trainer and so on. He was asked to handle an entire zone, and that too posted in Meerut zone. I think the way he turned it around and did a marvelous job. And when he succeeded, people probably felt that it's a fluke. It should not have happened, and posted him to more difficult situation in Bengal. And I still remember his quote, the way he used it to motivate people. He changed his style, used it to go there, because everywhere I think I had an opportunity to either go visit him, stay with him. So I still remember your quote, Anil, Mukherjee, Banerjee, Chatterjee, please put some energy to bring the entire, I think, the bank into. I think so. That's a great privilege and honor, Anil, I think you have given me. Anil, you have acknowledged many people, but I would like to acknowledge one person. And as an author, I have the first-hand experience of this. One person who is always behind any author, any accomplishments of any leader. And that is Vandana Khandelwal, who is here. I think it is, they make sure that we don't have to worry about anything. And then we are able to do anything that we want to do. I'm sure you would agree with that, Anil. So I'm so happy to see Vandanaji here among all of us. I have a couple of thoughts. One, a praise for the book. Number two, after I read this book, I started wondering, like Anil himself has said, that there have been quite a few books. I said, let me go back to the literature that is available. And I started rereading Robin Sharma and 7 Habits of, and then also the other ones. And then I started comparing and seeing, is there anything now that Anil has to contribute? So I have some thoughts on that. I will tell you what are some of the thoughts. But one thing significant in this book, now if you look at, I think, what Stephen Covey has done, he was a coach. He was coaching people, helping people. Out of his coaching experience, he wrote a book, 7 Habits. And I think he's given a new language. They are not merely 7 habits, there are a lot of literature in this. Robin Sharma, I think, just picks up one, the monk who sold his Ferrari, and takes up somebody who fell after working and got tired and fell almost dead in the court, and then started asking questions about himself, then went to Himalayas, someplace, and then returns as a sage and all that. Later, he wrote this book called Leadership Wisdom. Covey uses the term habits, and Robin Sharma uses the term rituals. Now we have gymnasium, a gym. And I'm glad, I think this is something which is good, that leadership, in a way, if you look at, I think all of them are more or less saying same thing using different terms, but this is a solid kind of a thing. And the most important thing here with Anil is, and most often you heard the term preach. Okay? Preach or practice what you preach. Normally people say, I mean, this is applicable to professors. They say that you're preaching a lot, are you practicing at home? But here is somebody who practiced and now started preaching. That is the most interesting kind of a thing. Practice, and then after that, reflect about it and then put it in a book. Every book Anil has written, whether it is on Dare to Lead or the CEO, Gardner, or a very interesting kind of a book, or on strategy in banking sector, etc., etc. All these are based on his own kind of experiences, thought, and things like that. A characteristic I found in this book is very, very important, and that is what this is, a very Indian book, very Indian, based on practice, so therefore credible. It gives a lot of credibility. And part of the credibility, I don't know if you counted, Anil, there are 32 personal experiences you have narrated in boxes. There are many more you haven't counted. I have counted them, 32 of them. You are not counted. I counted them. I just said. But there are many more which you narrate as you keep talking about your own kind of experiences. I must read, I think, something Very interesting, I found. I mean, this is something on credibility, uh, which he talks about. I think in one of his talks when he went to Agra, he promised that there will be a heritage branch near the Taj Mahal. And in the last 100 days of his tenure as the CMD of the bank, somebody asked him, "What happened, sir?" And he made sure before his retirement, there is a heritage bank. He went there to inaugurate that particular bank. Credibility, I think something which is very interesting kind of a thing. Anil talks about this. And also, since Anil mentioned in the beginning, there are a number of students from students in this group. He talks about how he learned English when he was in 6th standard, when in the house they didn't speak English. And therefore, he used to read and then write down all important words and note it and then memorize it. And he says, even today, when he reads, that is how I think this term crucible experiences from Warren Bennis and others seem to have. So he has books with underlines and terms and things of that kind. I think that is the gym practice. Once you start a practice, don't give up this particular kind of a practice. Now, yeah, yeah, those words, many things. As Vandana will. Okay, now we'll have another teacher here, another leader. Now, Anil, I think that's very nice, Vandana. Thanks a lot. That for you should tell us more secrets about his leadership. I'll want to go move on to. I've been asking this question. Now this is a great book. It's a good book. There are quite a few on the leadership. In fact, Arvind Agarwal and I have written 30 stories of 30 leaders, among which I think Anil is one of them whom we covered, and we had the privilege of knowing him. And that short story tells you more about his life and interesting kind of things he had done, the crucible experiences he has had, and so on. But the most important question before us now is that what do we do? How do we use this book? This is a gym. How do we create? Because it's nice to read a book and then forget about it. No, this is not meant for forgetting. I think we'll have to bring it. So I put some of my thoughts, and I have put my thoughts for 4 categories of people. First is for CEOs. If you are a CEO and if you happen to get a copy of this book, what do you do? My recommendation is create a company-wide or department-wide gymnasia, and you have a monthly gym or a weekly gym. Now, what are the activities of the gym? I would divide the entire year into 4 quarters. Each quarter, you pick up one part of this book. This book is divided into 4 parts. The first part is dealing with self-management, in which valuing time is a very important part of it. Incidentally, I think both Stephen Covey and Robin Sharma do talk of, they use different terms. But I think Anil's use is in terms of his own kind of insights. Second quarter on emotions management. Third quarter on relationship management. And fourth quarter on communications and conversation management. So divide the entire year into. Now in a quarter you have the 3 months. In 3 months you have about 12 weeks. Now you decide what you want to do. But each week, 1 week in a month, you focus on certain activities. And what are those activities? First set of activities have to be read 1 chapter. That particular week, you read 1 chapter and discuss about what have you got impressed by the chapter and what it means for you personally. That is week 1. Now this should be done in a group. A gym, I think it is, the leadership gym has to be in a group rather than as an individual. I'll come to, if you don't have a group, if you are not a part of the organization, what is it that you want to do? But if you are a part of the organization, if you are a CEO or a senior manager, you must create a gym, a gymnasia. And earlier, several years ago, I have seen in NIIT, Rajendra Pawar and team used a term called leadership circles. After they went through the Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Effective People, this was about 25 years ago they had done. Unfortunately, I think it probably didn't continue beyond maybe 10 years or so. I don't know if they still do it. So what they do is, after they go through this, pick up any one habit and discuss among a group what this habit means to you, and so on. And they used to do that. And the same way, I'm suggesting here in your gymnasium, I think gymnasium is what? Practice. Mental practice as well as a physical practice. Now, what is the practice? What does this, for example, credibility means to me? How I see in the world, credible people are becoming big, good leaders. How I see in my neighborhood, credibility is there or not there, etc., etc. So you reflect about it in the week one. In week two, you pick up somebody who is a credible leader, whom you know in the neighborhood, or whom you know in your department or in your organization, and share with others what this person has done or has failed to do and things of that kind. So first week is reflection. Second week is finding out stories. Third week, I think you can start writing your own story. Or you should start researching, go beyond your organization, go across the world, go across the country. And third week, at the end of it, you prepare an action plan. This is what I want to do, this is what I want to learn. And fourth week, you review the action plan. I think one of the things Anil talks of in his book is review, reflection, and action. I think this is something, keep on reviewing and so on. So you have like this, I think every quarter you create a gymnasium, you have a group of people, because what this will do is it inculcates in the mind, using each other as a resource, a discipline of thinking, discipline of reflecting, reviewing, acting, because there is an action plan, and in the next week you are going to be reviewed. And you can continue like this. And it's not, if in a group of 7 people, each one of them is going to talk about it, each one needs about 5 to 10 minutes of time. You have 1.5 hours to 2 hours. I think it perpetuates, because it is said, it's always thought is the basis of action. If you don't think, you will not act. So if you want to act, influence, start influencing through the thinking. And this is the gymnasium that you need to practice and so on. This is for CEOs. For those of you who are not CEOs, who are all independent nowadays, many people are independent. For everyone, I would recommend 3 things. Read 1 chapter a week and write your own story. In that chapter, what does it mean to you? Are you practicing humility? Are you practicing compassion, empathy? Many interesting things are there in this book. Write 1 chapter. Appoint a mentor or a coach. Keep reviewing with the help of a mentor or the coach whether you are able to practice what you have been wanting to do and so on. I think these days coaching has become very much of the order of the day. So I would recommend, it's good for people to have a coach. It can be a colleague, it can be a friend, it can be anyone. Third one is what I have a recommendation for professors. Professor, I'm sure some of you in this audience, if you are a professor, encourage research and validate and revalidate instruments. I mean, you can have, I think Anil has given lots of thoughts, reflective questions and so on. Can you convert this into a tool which can be used by people? I think that's something which you can think. Write more stories and books. Create self-assessment questionnaires. Conduct and train the trainers programs, organized trainers programs. And these are just some thoughts. I also have a recommendation for you, Anil. Recommendations. Popularize the tools in your gym. You have no alternative. Now that you have brought a book, you will have to go on giving not only book release functions, but I think you should talk about each one of these, because every time I heard you, it is so impressive. Your talks are based on experiences. They are so inspiring. So I think you should do that. Maybe I think next 1 to 2 years, you should be doing quite a bit of it. This is what Stephen Covey and Robin Sharma, others have done, no? Because they had many other people. I will not do that. No, you have to create a coaching center and train coaches. I think you can do that. Khandelwal's gymnasium or coaching center, you can have. Network with institutions and organizations to disseminate. And maybe you can create something like a leadership school. I think this is just a beginning. This is a seed. And this will have wonderful kind of results if any of these things can be done by some of those here. Since we have acknowledged Anil as the son of Ahmedabad, I hope Ahmedabad also can become, the help of AMA, a center for starting a leadership gym. Khandelwal's gym and AMA, maybe you can sponsor a gym here. I think it's wonderful. I've enjoyed reading this book. I'm sure you should get a copy. and not just read the book, use the book with some of the sessions I have made. Thank you for giving us this, and thank you all for listening to this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, TV Rao, the way you said how this book should be read with your unique style. And yes, Khandelwalji, it's not only the book release, as Rao Sahib said. With this method, Dr. Rao suggested you can actually conduct a full day or a weekend workshop on this at AMA, and AMA would happily partner this with you. Unmesh can take this up. And finally, the last speaker, I'll invite Dr. Shrestha Rabral to share her thoughts and observations, please. Shrestha, please.
Director, Academy of HR.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Yes. Yeah. I did order from Amazon and I got it the next day. So great. So first of all, good evening to everyone present here. I think, Dr. Khandelwal, your decision of going to the gym for fitness has benefited entire generations, because there I think you said that you could relate gym, physical fitness, and gym, what is required for mental fitness. So thank you so much of taking that decision, penning down your thoughts. So the Gym of Leadership is actually not just a manual of leadership. It's a transformative journey that encourages us to strengthen our leadership skills just as we would our physical fitness. Now, this book is ideal for everyone who aspires to grow and lead. As spoken by speakers before me, that leadership here is not about the position that you hold, it's about the role that you take in an organization. So very well put in the book. And actually, you got me hooked from the first chapter itself, where you took me right to your first day at work and the experiences. And like you said, leadership is not like all the wonderful experiences you have from the leader you're working with, but also the bad leadership experiences you have. So I think the kind of leadership experiences you had made the personality that you are today. What also was very interesting, that this book doesn't limit itself to leadership on larger scale, where you're talking about aligning the business goal or the vertical goal to the market dynamics and making a business which is thriving in terms of profit and people. But it also talks about leadership, and it stamps on very smaller things, like even a genuine good morning or a good evening with a heartfelt smile. So I think those smaller things were very beautifully put. This book also says that in order to become a leader, you really have to invest in yourself. And I think everyone here reflected on the same aspects, that one has to work on self. And I think so very strongly recommends that you can undergo workshops, trainings, all those kind of things, but those will just enhance your leadership skills. If you really want to cultivate leadership, is like, sir, I would want to quote you here. He said that leadership is action science, and it requires constant and mindful practice. As leadership is not the destination, it's a journey that one takes. The focus of this book is to build fundamental skills required for a leader, so that he is ready to face any crisis, challenge, dynamic situations, just as a healthy body is able to face different kind of situation, and it's well built with immunity. So I think, sir, this book is a book which requires multiple read. I'm done with my first read, and I'm sure when I read it the next time, I'll get some newer perspective. So thank you so much for, and I would very strongly recommend it to the millennials, to, like you said, the women leaders out here. Please give it a read. It's a wonderful read. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shrestha, for sharing your observations. And now the house is open for questions. You can take the questions from here. The mics are there. Yeah, please. You can just stand up and Umesh, somebody can take a mic.
Khandelwal uncle, Arjit here. Can you share any example? I mean, from your experience at Bob, if you can share, maybe
Regarding?
not take names. If you can share a real life example of where your leadership skill was tested, you know.
Mine?
Yeah.
Okay, number of times, multiple times. My leadership skill was tested. Many people from Bank of Baroda are here, and what comes to me most was role transition. When one fine morning from HR, my chairman called me and he said, "You should go to banking operation." So I said, "Sir, I don't like banking operation. I joined as probationary officer. In fact, I hate banking operations." So he said, "No. You can also sit on this chair." That man was very cryptic, you know. You have to apply a lot of your head to understand what he's talking. I said, "You can sit on this chair." What he meant was, you can also become chairman. The intention was something else. Unions were complaining that this man should be exited from corporate office. He's a danger to our alignments and our current accommodative culture. Anyway, he said, "If you can do PhD, you can run a bank." Now that was a challenge. And I asked myself, we HRD people always preach people, take up challenges, do this thing. Here is my test. And I decided to plunge myself. Now, a number of leadership things were tested on the ground. One fine morning you go, you don't know what is the difference between cash credit and hypothecation at that point of time. You are given 200 branches. Next day, customers will come with their proposals and other things. So that is the kind of challenge. The first thing I did was every Saturday, Sunday, I will call young officers like you, and they will not believe that I want to learn. It took some time. So my own vulnerability were tested, that if as a top you can learn, others can learn. Second thing, in branch managers meeting, I will say that, "Look here, you know who am I, where from I come. So I have to work with you. You tell me what you want from me, because banking you have to run." And those days, all problems were IR problems. I say, you delegate up those problems to me. That was my strength. And we worked out a symbiotic relationship with line managers. And that's how it worked. So I think the lessons are, be authentic, be real. Don't try to put up a facade of what you are not. Most of the time we try to pose what we are not, especially on higher position. So in higher position, I said, "Look, I don't know banking. That is your craft. My craft is, I will solve your problem. I will take fast decisions. I will diagnose issues. I'll be fair to you, and you can approach me anytime." And this worked because that was not tested. We were highly conservative command and control organization. And from that, they find someone who is talking a different language. And it was practiced. In fact, some of the innovation, if I tell you, we had the most difficult center called Agra. I think Vacharajani worked there. So he knows. And Agra was my birthplace. I said, so I took up the challenge. Now, here was a credibility. But most of the time, leaders talk something in these meetings and walk away. So I told, I have to change Agra. And first time in the banking industry, we signed a MOU with a staff in Agra. And they were sending me, even I was transferred, what is the development of business. And Agra union leaders are in touch with me after 30 years, even today. So, you know, you can do dramatic changes across. Sky is the limit. You know, when leadership starts unfolding, sky is the limit of change and transformation. That is what I would like to share. You have done. This man, young man, runs the entire bike system of Ahmedabad. I've seen him as he's a son of my friend, even a small kid, and going to school. And one day I find him, he's meeting Modi's, and he runs those bikes that you put here, my bike. He's the entrepreneur. So you can see your leadership. You should be talking in AMF how you did it. Thank you.
Sir, learning from a terrible leader or terrible boss, you can say. So if you can elaborate on that.
Yes, I will. I work with a boss. Incidentally, he was a CEO. So if we put up anything and dare to give some suggestions, he will write there, "Are you teaching me?" If you meet him, and one day I went to him, I was going to Hong Kong for a training which previous boss had recommended. He had come new. I said, let me at least meet him and say, "Sir, I'm going to Hong Kong for a training program." So his exact dialogue, "So what?" I was taken aback. I thought he will cancel. We were not senior at that time. मैंने कहा Hong Kong जाना कहीं cancel नहीं करते आदमी. You know, he was such a moody man. So he said, I said, "Sir, when I come back, I will submit report." "No, no, I don't want any report. I want action. You can go now." Somehow ran away. So I learned making people comfortable is the most important thing. This no lecture would have taught me, because you are hurt here, that being overwise is not leadership. Don't teach me. He was chartered accountant, management accountant, cost accountant, brilliant banker. Even industry acknowledged. Very, very poor emotionally. He was his emotion, at that time I realized that emotions, if not equal, are more important in managing people and leadership than the intellect, especially when you are at the top. And the best question will get a signed copy of the book from me.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, what is your view on demanding leadership style?
Demanding?
Leadership style
What does it mean?
means demanding leader.
Acha, demanding leaders. Leaders should be demanding. Why not? Leaders, see, somebody asked, "What is your leadership style?" Everyone in the bank knew, because I spoke several times. Tough love, tough on performance, and high compassion for people. I will violate any rule to be compassionate, and I will be nasty sometimes, tough, because you have to deliver. So if you are only demanding and are not concerned about people's problems, then that's not a good brand of leadership. And worldwide research has said that great leaders are equally focused on the people side as much as on the task. Yeah. Yes, please. And my BOV friends can tell if they find contradiction in what I am talking, they can say that, because that will not be leader-like.
Sir, my
Yeah.
question is, why are ethics getting compromised in leadership today?
What?
Ethics getting compromised in leadership today?
I don't know. But to answer you, I would say that if ethic is compromised by any leader, first of all, he or she is not a leader. Why are we mixing up? If somebody is whatever be the position, if somebody is not living ethical life, he or she is not a leader. So, and if ethic is being compromised, you must raise a question about whether X or Y is a leader. Yeah. Students can ask questions. They have come, number of students.
Last goal.
For you. Yes. Students can ask questions.
Sir, how do you see leadership evolving with rise of AI and automation?
It is evolving. You see how it is evolving? It is evolving. Today, even in AI times, all the report, World Economic Forum, Harvard Leadership Report, LinkedIn Leadership, everyone is putting leadership as the top deficit skill in the world. Imagine a mad leader. Warren Bennis, who is a stalwart, who is no more, wrote about leader that there is more danger to world from bad leaders than from nuclear armament. And his reasoning was, a bad leader can push the button and the world will explode. So importance of leadership is that. But coming to AI and all that, much more, because the kind of disruption that is taking place today is so high. You see how much is being written on toxic work environment today. There's so much of toxicity in the workplaces. So much people are committing suicides now. So many reports are coming of top consulting organization. Lady recently committed suicide there. Lot of companies, some of the marquee companies, which are known for their metrics, numerical metric, they are this and that. Their toxicity of highest order. And this is one aspect of our growth, that we are enjoying the fruits of AI and other thing. The other, which is nasty and horrible aspect of disruption, is that our workplaces are becoming toxic. Our leaders are becoming toxic. And I think it's a question that how now we cannot afford to ignore creating leadership. I think that's a challenge and question. Yes.
So, what are your thoughts on the focus shifting from a formal leadership style to more informal leadership styles?
My thoughts are that, you see, this leaders require both things. They require formal side, they also require informal side. You see, some of organization I go, in India, we started aping this first name culture. That the CEO, hi Ravi, how are you? How so and so? Now, that does not make you informal. You know, that's one part of it, fine enough. But if this first name culture does not result in other informal side of consulting people or treating them with empathy or taking their ideas, I think there is a dissonance in this kind of informal and formal. I think all what is required is the authenticity. Leaders got to be real. No bullying. Most leaders are considered bullies, manipulative. That when they have work, they will try to pester you. And if they don't have work, they won't like to look at you. So the important thing is be real. And that is where daily reflection is required. Was I real in this transaction today? Was I posing to him? Was I praising him unnecessarily? What was my agenda that I was going out of the way in praising X or Y? Just because X is this. If you ask these questions daily, reflect upon daily, you will find the answer that how it is good to be real. That's the kind of thing. So self-reflection and diving deep into the self is very important for leadership. Yeah. Yes.
How to handle demanding leaders?
How to
Handle demanding leaders.
handle them. You listen, anybody, any leader, irrespective of position, when when anything become excessive, you have a right to point out. I have handled with a very difficult boss, sending him a note one day, sir, I would like to meet you private. He didn't give me appointment. I gave him a reminder. And when he gave me time, one-to-one I discussed. So important thing is, don't combat him when he is upset. You have to find the time of your choosing so that your emotions are also in control. His emotion, he was sensitized. Because he says, somebody is demanding time from me, even sending a reminder to me. Something must be, and we sorted it out. So, yeah.
Hello. Categorization of the leaders, actually. Leaders. Good leader, bad leader, strong leader, weak leaders. Just now we have seen the Ratan Tata, the leadership in India and abroad. In that context, and what we want to tell us.
Let me tell you, the nation has gone overboard on Ratan Tata's empathy and whatnot, rightly so. But the nasty side of Ratan Tata you have not heard. He dismissed Tata Sons chairman in 5 minutes. He removed the so-called gang of charismatic leaders from Tata Steel, Rusi Modi, JJ Irani, and all that, in a very systematic and in a very the tough side of Ratan Tata. I think we are a very emotional nation. We pick up something. Oh, Ratan Tata loves his dog, so he must be a great leader. Oh, Ratan Tata this thing for his dog, so he must be a great leader. Oh, Ratan Tata misbehaved with his Kamwali, so he must be a nasty leader. We don't explore. We must have observation and exploration. Ratan Tata was indeed a great combination of a compassionate leader and a tough leader. But the toughness part is not known. Dismissing chairman of Tata Sons in 5-minute conversation. Or if you read about, so my point is, the important thing for leaders is to understand they are not gods. They are human beings. I may have written on anger. I lose my anger every now and then. That does not mean, arey, ye to anger pe likh raha is losing head. I am a human being. But am I controlling? Am I reflecting? Am I trying to? That's important. So leaders are always work in progress. They are not super gods. They are not superhuman beings. Please understand this. Textbook make leaders, they give so much profile and then they say Abraham Lincoln did this, Gandhi did this, Gandhi did that. Gandhi had number of, you if read, the greatest thing about Gandhi was that he shared his vulnerabilities, that he shared his own weaknesses. So those leaders who are narcissists, they will never share their weaknesses. They will put up a facade of some kind. But look at Gandhi. Why Gandhi in 100 years we could not produce second Gandhi? Because what he said, he did. If he said cleanliness, he cleaned his excreta. If he said socially disadvantaged people, he went and created and lived in Harijan colonies. If he talked of peace on 15th August 1947, he refused Nehru's call to come for hoisting Tiranga. He was sitting in Calcutta, that Noka Khali or what? Noah Khali, for Hindu-Muslim unity. Which leader today does it? Living the values, the congruence in the self and preaching. Normally you require, I often ask a question, to go to learn authenticity, credibility by paying some lakhs of rupees to Harvard to learn this? I don't. These are there. There is a Gandhi inside you. You can practice from now, from tomorrow, some of these things. Yes, you can improve, you can embellish by going to management institute, but basing humanity. And we have a lot of people. Gandhi didn't go to Harvard, did he? Nelson Mandela didn't go to Stanford, did he? A lot of good people who are here. Let me be honest with you. I have not attended any leadership program, formal. I have not attended. But we grow on the chair. And not that I'm a leader. I don't even confess that I'm a leader. If some people see some small thing, it is their greatness. Every time I enter the doghouse inside and see there are too many mosquitoes and lizards roaming around inside myself. That's life. So the internal cleaning is the essence of leadership. Any last question? Not that I'm tired, but AMA would have their own protocols before they ask us to get out. Any last question? Yes. Oh, sir.
how do we get rid of, how do we ensure that institutions have good leaders? You know, one looks at America,
Yeah.
all over the place. How do you prevent what we call bad leaders from coming to power?
So my own take on this is how I can talk in terms. Dr. Khanwala's question is, how do you create at institutional level a culture of creating good leaders? It may look very simple question, but it's a very deep question, I tell you. I will not go at national level because I tell you the politics and the managers and all that, they're two different. But at institutional level, so my own thing that I have seen is that our mechanism to create leaders is only promotion system. And there is no due diligence on people. My question is how such nasty leaders make their way to the top. That process has to be looked into, that process has to be cleaned, that behavior and styles must be now caught with AI or whatever technology should be used to assess. What do we assess? What has been his performance in the case of bankers? What has been his deposits? What has been advances? What has been this numerical metrics, I think, have this flawed side of it. We don't have report cards on people about their achievements, about their act of humanness. I give you one example. A friend of, you know that person, I'll tell you the name. This one tells me he joined as an officer in the bank in Aligarh branch of Bank of Baroda. And on a particular day, on June, you know, June is hottest in UP, he got a message his mother died. And there was a transport strike in UP. His branch manager took him on Lambretta in 1973, 100 and some odd kilometer, his newly recruited officer on the back of his Lambretta and directly delivered him at the funeral ground. This is leadership. Now, is this on the record? During my research for this book, I got some of these episodes. Nobody knows that we had a manager like him. I think I will violate any policy of promotion to give credence to people like him and put them on a leadership track. The point is, we don't have data on people except their performance. If we want to create leadership at institutional, and training is a very, shall we say, a very, it's not an adequate thing to train people. Because I believe unless you decide to become leader, then training cannot help you. And most people come to training program as, you know, some sort of a relief from work organization. And therefore it has failed. And that book, Leadership Bullshit by our Pfeffer, Jeffrey Pfeffer, just a 356 billion dollars are wasted annually on formal training program, and yet see the reports which are coming. The people are fed up with their leaders. I was member of Bank Board Bureau. We were selecting managing directors and whatnot. A question, and everyone has attended 10 program on leadership. Now, not only in India, but abroad. So my question was, can you tell me 2-3 critical things that you learned? Sir, I could not find any. What they will say, it broadened our perspective, it broadened this, it broadened that. So there is just some basic defect, and I'm sorry to tell you that even our management institutes, look at their set agenda on, gone are the days when persons of your type, Dr. Uday Parikh and others, we have seen those days. For a session, these people used to do research. For one session, we used to call to Staff College Bank of Baroda, and Dr. Parikh turns up with some research and this and that. Today, everything is standardized. First session this, second this, afternoon mein case studies because people sleep, and then there is some management game. And what is all this going on? Do you think we can create leaders by that? So lack of seriousness and everything is perfected now. I would say that we are neither creating leaders in academics anymore, but they were academics who were so inspired to do something that they will go anywhere to do that or learn that. So, sir, institutional mechanisms have to improve, and it's not one night affair, and it's not something that's what. Of course, you are the wisest man that I consider in this field, so you can guide us. But at organizational level, I'm convinced we are promoting wrong people all the time. A promotion exercise produces several people, 50 people, like we are producing Vicks Vaporub tablet on a, what I call that, on a conveyor belt. Yes. As we produce Vicks Vaporub tablets coming on conveyor belt, after promotion, people are coming. 500 people are promoted. 500 chief managers are promoted. And people are left wondering, अरे ये आदमी बन गया, ये तो जनरल मैनेजर बन गया, अरे 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 यार ये कैसे हो गया? Now we have to improve that system. Okay. So Dr. Khandelwal, I request you. Every question is good question. But this is a question to think was something that I can give a sign from you. No, that is how, because I know that you can. Every question that I realize, and every question.
So I'll request one selfish thing, sir. You give us a signed copy at AMA library and everybody can read it.
That I am giving anyway.
If you all agree who have asked questions, that on behalf of you, it will be at AMA.
AMA is getting a copy, whether
Thank you, sir.
ask or not. I want to give it to a आप बताइए आपको कौन सा youngest person in the age. Who is the youngest person? Youngest girl.
Who has asked the question at least?
You are the one? Come dear. Yeah. Solution is come. What is your good name? Chaitrali. CHAITRAL. आजकल नाम ऐसे ऐसे हैं, डेजिग्नेशन ऐसे ऐसे हैं साहब, मेरा सर चकरा गया। एक एचआर वाले ने मुझे अपना कार्ड दिया, ये सब तो ठीक है, पीपल ऑफिसर, गार्डनिंग ऑफिसर, वहां तक भी ठीक है। एक ने मुझे कार्ड दिया, चीफ इग्नाइटिंग ऑफिसर। क्या हो रहा है भाई, कौन इसको इग्नाइट कर रहा है? तू चैत्रा लीजिए, कोई फोटो भी ले लीजिए, आपके दोस्त लोग आके फोटो ले लीजिए, सारे स्टूडेंट्स आके साथ में।
Let me sum up in 30 seconds. Thank you very much, sir.
आइए।
Thank you very much, TV Rao, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Anup Singh. Thank you very much, the author, Dr. Anil Khandelwal. Welcome back to AMA for this new launch. And if at all I have done a good work, please give me more work. Your next book should be launched here.
I think, originally I had kept in the program a lot of things for myself and one reader which I have done. How grateful to be my leadership journey. I am here.
Thank you, sir. The AMA is always grateful to you, and your next book will wait for this stage, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, audience. Today at this campus, we have another 2 book launches, but thank you for the houseful audience. So there is a passion for the author and the subjects, and that is what leadership is all about. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a safe. That was great.